Hey guys, how's it going? Recently we received some news from Bandai that there will be a ban list that will be dropping on the 1st of July, but will be announced on the 12th of June, which is a couple of weeks from when I'm recording this video. Now, a ban list is something that a lot of people have been waiting for quite some time. The last time we received a ban list for the game was back in FBO2. About halfway through FBO2, we got a ban list mainly to tone down top Q because it was becoming, or it was a tier 0 deck at the time. Since then, we have not seen any ban lists, which is really surprising for a card game. I feel to keep a card game fresh and exciting to play, you really do want to have regular ban lists. At least, personally, I would say every set we should get a new ban list. Maybe some people would argue every 2 sets. I'm not sure how Bandai cover their ban list with other card games such as One Piece, Masters. I'm not sure how they did it there. But yeah, I think every set we should be receiving a ban list. Any cards that are overtuned or show to be too strong for the meta, they should be toned down. Right, maybe not immediately, but at least, for example, if there were any of the FBO6 cards which were really strong or too strong, at the beginning of FBO7, you can see those cards being tuned down just to bring decks in line. Now, with this upcoming ban list announcement in a couple of weeks, obviously it begs the question, what could we expect from this ban list? Obviously, everyone wants the 2 top decks to be toned down or nerfed to oblivion, depending on how you feel about these leaders, which is Halo Q and Evil Boo. These 2 decks have been dominating the meta for, what, 3 sets now? Nothing has been done to tone them down. Even when we get new sets introduced into the game and new cards, there seems to be nothing that's able to topple these top 2 decks. So what I want to do is, I want to give my 2 cents on what I would want to see from this ban list. Now, this is just my opinion, so take that with a pinch of salt. Some people may agree, some people may not. That is completely fine. So first off, I want to talk about Pilaf. Now, Pilaf is actually an FBO1 card. Now, the early days of Fusion World, let's say set 1, set 2, people talked about Pilaf and how strong this card could be. But at the time, it wasn't as problematic, let's say, as it is currently. Set 1, green was kind of taking over the meta back then. Z, Broly, and Gohan were like the best decks at the time. And obviously, the natural matchup, blue into green, isn't favored for blue. And then set 2, we had the whole top Q meta, where top Q was just destroying everyone. There was a Zamasu deck that could kind of compete with that. As time has gone on, and we've seen more and more cards that indirectly buff Pilaf, I think it's about time that we actually tone this card down. Its ability to loop itself, I think, is the biggest problem with this card, fundamentally. Obviously, in the decks that it's running now, like Halo Q, for example, it can loop itself. It can loop another card I'm going to talk about, extra cards, other 1-drops that you want to bring back to your hand. There's so many great options for this card. And then adding the fact that it can loop itself, I think this card just generates too much value, right? It's good as a value generator, but I think it's a bit too heavy of a value generator. So what I would want to see, personally, to bring this card in line, they should change the text. Now, I don't know how Bandai normally handle things like that. Do they ever change text on cards or just bring a reprint of the card with the changed text? I don't know. But ideally for this card, I want this card to read the same as Hercule, the 1-cost battle card in black, right? Hercule is allowed to pick up 1-drop cards from your drop, but it cannot pick up itself. I think Pilaf needs to have the same or similar text, right? As long as it's not Pilaf, you can pick up whatever card you want. Now, well, as long as it's an Earthling, right? And obviously there's a cost limit to it. And I still think that this card will be extremely viable despite that change. There are so many great options for this card to pick up, and there will continue to be good options for this card into the future. This is quite a future-proof card. I think the fact that this card can loop itself just makes it a bit too strong. So yeah, ideally, I want them to change the text to match Hercule GT. If not, then I would have to say probably limit this card to 2. Ideally, I would say limit it to 1, but because it's allowed to loop itself, obviously I'm sure they'll want to keep that mechanic in there. And if that's the case, then I would say limit it to 2. So then there is the potential to loop itself, but it can only do it once. So yeah, those are my suggestions for this card. Either change the text to match Hercule GT or limit this to 2. I don't think this card will get banned outright. I still think it's necessary in blue decks, right? Especially the control ones, they really do need a card like this. I just think as it stands, it's just too strong and generates too much value. Now, sticking with blue, the next card I want to talk about is Short Hair. The full name is You Prefer Girls with Short Hair. I prefer to call it Short Hair. I think a lot of other people just prefer that name as well. But this card is incredibly strong. Effectively, what this card is a pot of greed, more or less. You draw 3 and then you're able to put a card on the top of your deck, which isn't a problem for the deck that runs this card. The Satan City archetype is all about revealing the top card of your deck, and if it's a Satan City card, gaining extra benefits because of it. And obviously Short Hair is a great way to do it. I think why this card is so strong is first, it's an Earthling, so you're able to loop this with a card like Pilaf, which we spoke about earlier. Also, the 2-cost Videl can pick this up. There are ways to generate this card again and constantly use it. Also, because of the Satan Seer archetype, you have Sharpener, and Sharpener allows you, in most cases, to play this for 0. So for 0 energy, you get to draw 3 and put 1 top of your deck. I think this card is too strong, and this is probably going to be the first card that I say that actually needs to be banned. It's either that or you restrict it to 1. Either way. Personally, I just want to see this card banned. I think it's too good for the deck. It's way too good. Now, some people may ask, well, if I want to ban short hair, does that mean I'm also going to ban Dr. Bruce Spaceship? Now, similar to short hair, Dr. Bruce Spaceship is 1 energy as well. It does net you plus 2 cards. However, I think where Dr. Bruce Spaceship is much more balanced compared to short hair, I mean, 1, you can't play Dr. Bruce Spaceship for 0, at least not at the moment. There's no way to reduce the cost of this card, so you will have to play it for 1. This card is also leader locked, right? It only works with Son Goku, and at the moment there is only 1 green Son Goku card or leader in the game. But I think where this card is a bit more balanced is the fact that Dr. Bruce Spaceship, you need to be at 2 life in order to play this card, right? So for most of the game, this card is just a 0k in your hand until you hit 2 life. Also bear in mind that once you've hit 2 life and you've drawn those 2 cards, at the end of the turn, you're probably going to want to heal back to 3. And so you've only netted 1 card. Let's put it that way. So it's not as egregious as short hair is, right? It can be looped. If you have Cell Jr., you can loop it, but then you spend in 3 energy to loop this card, right? You play 2 for Cell Jr. and then the 1 to play Dr. Bruce Spaceship. Whereas with short hair, you could play it for 0 if you have 1 sharpener. God forbid you have 2. You could play it for 0, draw 3, put 1 top of your deck, play a Pilaf, pick up the short hair, use your other sharpener. Because you put a Satan Seer at the top of your deck, it's a 0 again, and you can just play it again for 0, right? Whereas with Dr. Bruce Spaceship, the conditions in order to use this card are a lot more risky. Being at 2 life, of course, Goku can heal, but being at 2 life is always a risky thing to do. So yeah, even though these 2 cards are similar, I think Spaceship is a lot more balanced with its restrictions, and you can't play this on turn 1, right? Or you can't play this until the deck that plays it is very aggressive. So you're looking at turn maybe 4, turn 5, depending on the matchup, is when you can ideally play this card. With short hair, you could potentially play this. I mean, you'll need some really good RNG, but you could play this card on turn 2. Yeah, if things go your way, you could play short hair on turn 2, right? Obviously, you'll need great RNG. You'll need Sharpener. You'll need to hit with Sharpener and then play Orange Star High School, the field. And then the following turn, you just need to play 1 more card, Satan City card. That's a 1-drop, whether it's Eraser or something, and then you can play short hair. But realistically, you could say most people play it on like turn 3, right? But to be fair, even turn 2 isn't really like that much of a stretch. It's very possible. But yeah, personally, I think short hair just needs to be banned. I think the card is too strong and just generates too much value. Next, we're moving on to yellow, and the card I want to talk about is Buhan. I knew from the moment they dropped this card back in set 4 that this card is going to be incredibly strong. And the reason for that is kind of in theme with the other cards that I want banned or restricted, where it's just generating too much value that other decks simply can't compete with. The fact that this card, even by itself, when you're able to activate the ability, it lets you draw 1 and discards 1 from your opponent's hand, is incredible value. I mean, that by itself puts you up +2. Obviously, we're not considering the fact you had to play the card in the first place. And then it gets even worse if you pair Barbody with this card, because now your opponent, given the right conditions, has to discard 2 cards. So your opponent's never really allowed to have more than like 5 cards in their hand, which is so tough for other decks. Like blue doesn't mind as much because they're able to work around it to an extent. And when you look at that, I think it's incredibly crippling for most decks. They're just not able to generate any value, where the blue player is just gaining card after card after card. If they're able to use this on the following turn again, it's almost GG. They just have too many cards. You have too little cards. It's really difficult to come back from that, unless you're Haloku. It's for those reasons I want Buhan banned. Similar to short hair, this card is just generating too much value for the deck that it's played in. If you also consider the fact that the Boo leader is able to draw 3 times on the turn it wants to awaken, yeah, I don't even want this limited. I think it just needs to go outright. I think when this card was printed, it shouldn't have had the draw 1. It's how I think this card should have been. If you want a card that's being able to disrupt your opponent, that's fine. Making them discard 1, fair enough. If they have Barbody, they discard 2. Still really strong. Making them draw 1 as well, and you also consider the fact that the Boo deck, the leader, Evil Boo, It's able to draw 3 cards on the turn that it awakens, whilst you've been drawing cards because of this Boo as well. It's just crazy. Most decks are always going to be playing on the back foot from like turn 3 because their hand size is just so much lower. They can't protect their life as much. They can't protect their battle cards as much. Obviously, game to game, it could differ because obviously RNG is involved. How many Boohans you get to see in your hand is also a big thing. But all things being ideal, when a Boo player is able to play 2 Boohans and just whittle down your hands, there's not much you can do. The game's more or less over, right? They're going to go at your lead. You'll get cards from your life, but then they're getting discarded because of the Boohans. And then when they want to go all in, you literally have nothing to protect yourself with. So yeah, I want Boohan to be banned. Now, apparently in other regions, people have said that buff Boo is too strong. I don't personally agree. I mean, no, let me change that. Yes, the card is strong, but not in the same way Boohan is strong, right? The only deck that's going to play buff Boo is Evil Boo. I don't think any other decks are going to play it, at least not currently. Maybe a new leader will come out that can use it. Whereas Boohan can be used in multiple yellow decks. Yellow Vegeta can use Boohan. Janemba can use Boohan. Those 2 plus Evil Boo are like the top yellow decks in the format. Now, buff Boo, I would agree he is strong. I think it's just mainly because his stats are overtuned, more so than the effect. I think for 3 energy, being a 30k with combo power is insane. Either you make this a 25k power with 5k combo, similar to the 3 cost Goku for the Namek Goku deck, or you make this 3 cost 30k but 0 combo. It's how I would look at this card. In fact, I would say make it 3 cost 30k and 0 combo, right? I wouldn't want a card like this to have combo power. I have no problem with the Evil Boo deck being this kind of aggressive and disruptive deck, being able to disrupt your opponent's hand size whilst going for these explosive finishing turns with the 5 cost double strike can do into something like buff Boo, I think is fine. And that's kind of the identity of the deck, and I wouldn't want to get rid of that. I personally don't think that buff Boo needs to be touched, but buff Boo is a strong card. Next up, we're moving to green, and the card in question is Android 17 and 18, the forecast card, which is like a secret SR, basically, is how I've always seen this card from the moment it dropped. This card was released back in set 2, and it has single-handedly made sure that Android 17 has been a relevant and top-tier deck up until now. Now, there has been discussion to whether or not the Android 17 deck is better than Broly, the new Super Broly deck. But regardless, Android 17 has always been the best green deck since the ban list back in set 2, halfway through set 2. Once Top Q got nerfed, Android 17 just rose to the top. Now, my personal bias, I don't want to see this card get banned. I love Android 17. It's the deck that I have taken to tournaments multiple times and have been able to top 8 with. It's probably my personal favorite to play. However, I do feel like 17 and 18 need to be toned down. I personally would say limit this to 2. I think that's how I would tackle this card. Why this card is so strong is because it allows you to ramp whilst gaining active energy to play other cards. So effectively, when played right, you could look to ramp twice in a turn, which no other green deck is really able to do, at least not as efficiently. I've made multiple videos on Android 17, and there's been many matches where I've been able to charge to 8 energy, 9 energy before my opponent gets to 5, right? With the help of Jero's Lab, plus this card, you're just able to ramp up so fast. I do think it's about time this deck got toned down a little bit, and I think limiting this card is the way to do it. I would say limit it to 2. I don't want to see this card gone completely, because I think Android 17 needs this card, right? If without this card, Android 17 goes back to being one of the bottom green decks, I promise you. I think 2 is fine. It's still searchable, right? You have cards like Android 20, the 1-drop, and the 1-drop 18 that can search this card. But yeah, I think if this card was limited to 1 or banned, I think it would be too heavy on the deck and it just won't recover from it. They'll probably have to go back to playing Saiyan Ramp because it's just more efficient to play Saiyan Ramp. But yeah, the deck will probably just fall through to a mid-tier to low-tier deck, which probably a lot of people won't mind because it's been at the top for so long. It's about time that it was brought down a bit, which I can agree. It will just be sad because this is my favorite deck to play. Especially now with the existence of Secret Rare Broly. Android's obviously got an indirect buff because of Broly, and so it just gives even more reason to limit the ramping capabilities of Android 17. So yeah, that is it for the bans. Now, before I end this video, I want to take a look at the cards that were banned in the previous ban list and see whether or not it's about time that some of those cards came back. Starting off with Master Roshi. Now, this was actually a set 1 card. I mentioned before the ban list was during set 2. This was a set 1 card, but when Top Q came out, and the whole idea behind Top Q was to awaken as quickly as possible because Top Q could only awaken at 3 life. You need to awaken fast and just start dumping a bunch of battle cards onto the field and just constantly swing down your opponent. The most efficient way to do this was Roshi, because Roshi had an activate main, which allowed it to self-awaken. So every turn if you play the Roshi, you could self-awaken, unless your opponent had ways to get rid of it. And obviously if you had multiple of these Roshis on the field, it then became an issue, right? Topku could awaken really early, turn 3, turn 4, start playing things like Kefla, which was able to play another battle card, and because of Topku's ability, you could play Kefla for really cheap. Now, should Roshi be unbanned? It's honestly difficult to say. I think you can definitely bring it to 1, like restrict it to 1, I think is not bad. There are a lot more ways now to get rid of 1-drops than they were back in set 2. Every color has an effective way to get rid of a 1-drop card. Yellow has 1-cost Frieza, or 2-cost Frieza, or the 3-cost Janemba. Like, it has multiple ways. I mean, blue being blue, they can bounce this very easily. Red has the 3-cost Gohan, or Whis, or the new 17 to 18 3-cost. Can also get the job done. Green, not as many options. We have Ba, we have Kami, and we have Ibi. If you were to unban this card and put it out 4, how much does that bring Topku back into the meta? I mean, maybe you could. Maybe it's about time that Topku came back, but then I think the other cards that were banned / restricted can't come back. So maybe you could unban Roshi, because there are so many more ways to get rid of 1-drops. But I think for now you should restrict it to 1, maybe 2 at the most, maybe. But yeah, I think it's about time that Roshi should have its time to come back. I think we have more cards to deal with it now, so bringing it back wouldn't be as bad. The next card we want to talk about is Ribrianne. Now, this Ribrianne card is also banned. It's an FBO2 card that came out with Topku, and it's just a double strike card. 4 energy, 20k power, 10k combo, and it has double strike. Originally, I didn't think this card would get banned. When they did, I thought it would just be Kefla and Roshi. What made this card really strong is that you could play it for 1 energy with Topku's leader ability. Topku could use 1 energy, discard 1 card, and then play a battle card with 20k power or less from their hand, as long as it had Tournament of Power in the traits. So that meant that you could play Ribrianne for 1 energy, and then boost Ribrianne with the extra card Glimpse of Hidden Arrogance, which would boost Ribrianne to a 45k, and then if you have a battle card which had 30k or more power, which obviously Ribrianne would now have, you could add a blue card with a cost of 4 or less from your drop to your hand, which will normally be another 10k. And then if you for some reason had a second Glimpse in hand, you could do it again, and then just dump a lot of 10ks. I definitely think you can bring this card back, maybe limit it to 2. Yeah, I definitely think Ribrianne can come back. I think originally when they banned Ribrianne, I think it was a bit too harsh, as well as the other bans that they did to Topku, which made Topku borderline unplayable. The last card we're going to look at is a restricted card, which was Kefla. Kefla was restricted to 1. I thought Kefla would be banned, but it was restricted to 1. Now, as you can see, Kefla's stats is 20k power, and it has Tournament of Power in its traits, meaning that the Topku leader could play this for 1 energy, and then Kefla will draw 1 and play a card like 3-cost Gohan, which is a really good 3-cost card. It's one of the better SRs that Red has access to, so much so that almost every Red deck plays it. Even now, with the restriction that Kefla has, where you can only play 1, there are still decks that would play that 1 of Kefla. So I think for now, you can keep Kefla at 1. I don't want to see it banned, but I don't want it to get any stronger than it currently is, especially for bringing back things like Roshi and Ribrianne. I definitely think just keep Kefla at 1. So yeah, that is everything. What cards I want to see banned, what cards I want to see restricted, and what cards I want to see come back. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, this is just my opinion. You guys may disagree or agree. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of my take on what the ban list should be. And if there's any cards that I didn't consider or even forgot to mention, let me know in the comments what cards you think should be either restricted or banned. But regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Consider leaving a like and subscribing. We recently hit 400 subs. We're trying to reach 1,000. Well, my personal goal is to reach 1,000 by the end of 2025. So I'm going to try and work towards that. So any support will be appreciated. Nevertheless, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, guys. Peace.